Okay, Shay, I feel like in the last few episodes, we've been talking a lot about challenges, growth markers, leadership styles. All of this really became our why for the fractional model, solving these problems, creating shortcuts to these challenges, defining the growth markers so that other designers don't have to. So now let's really lay out what we see as the solutions. I feel like this can really be the time that we start to give some answers and what our thoughts were for how we solve some of this stuff. And that's what we call the fractional model. So let's break that down. In your words, what is the fractional model and what does the interior designer business owner really need today?
Yeah. It is, I'm going to say our belief at this point, that this fractional model is a collection of humans really sitting in their super strength lane, that you have the ability to tap in and out as you need, ebb and flow with your business as you need, and as you scale, continue to put a fraction of what you need around you so that you can juggle this crazy industry with all these hats that you have to wear in a single project, let alone juggling multiple projects within different points of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think fraction sounds like a part, but another side of that and what that means for me is that you are also only a fraction of, keeping the responsibility of that employee rather than having to offer them part-time or full-time, being the only person paying their bills or whatever it is. You also have a fraction of that responsibility. You only need these people as you grow. And you only have to carry a fraction of that.
Yeah. And I think that's really the biggest thing for me in terms of you don't think it through. In a previous episode, we talked about how I made a shortcut or what I thought was a win in hiring directly and paying that lower hourly rate, having a higher level of control, having more hours in the day, but you don't think it all the way through to, yes, the strengths and weaknesses, but what happens at the points in your business where you don't need them. Then you have to start carrying them. Then you start pulling from previous profits from previous months, and it starts drawing out and kind of thinning the account if you don't have that level of consistency yet at that very first growth marker where you're like, sometimes I need it, but sometimes I don't. It's challenging, very, very challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what your needs look like based on your own strengths and weaknesses, or based on what you want to delegate first, or the pipeline that you're building. Who you need first could be totally different for you. But with the fractional model, all of those are available to you. So that it's intentionally flexible, it's intentionally scalable, and it's designed for your reality of actually running your design business and keeping you in that seat where you're irreplaceable. So let's kind of go top down in the fractional model, Shay, and just remind what that org chart looks like. Whether you do or do not tap into all of these individuals, these are the people that are available to you.
Yeah. So I'm going to say the skeleton version of that org chart, because as you know, I have a very hard time talking about the org chart and not going into how it continues to develop and multiply and add people to your team. So we're going to say
bones, the skeleton.
The skeleton model of the fractional team. You definitely need high-level strategists on your team. You need them in that CEO lane where myself is helping you focus on profitability, ultimately is the main center of that lane, and sales. Then you need COO.
Wait, I want to give you another shout out there in terms of fractional CEO, because I think another thing that's invaluable, having someone else on your level making decisions with you, looking at data with, not having to make the decisions alone anymore. Yes, profitability and sales is your superpower, and also that critical thinking lane where it can be very lonely at the top, having to do all that yourself. I think that's another part of the fractional CEO that becomes irreplaceable.
True. I think another thing that maybe is a little bit underspoken about is that just kind of emotional support on that side of things. Business owner to business owner, there's life, there's relationships, there's business, there's employee drama. There's just so many things weighted that, yes, sometimes we're on calls with an intention to continue developing out maybe the pricing model or the contracts or the closing deck, whatever it might be. But life has happened and we have to have a little conversation to kind of recenter ourselves, ground ourselves in whatever challenge is going on and continue to press forward. So for sure, but in the spirit of skeleton, I'll try to keep things short to the conversation. COO, that fractional operations person, this is someone who's high level strategist on organization, technology, efficiencies, all the foundational task flow of really getting that project to move smoothly through your team channels and developing documented system of procedures so you actually are a business, not just a team of people. And that's a big one. And I think something people don't really think about is the importance of all the back end work of that system of procedure. And it saves you on so many levels. It's either going to save you because you have team overturn. You have people that are taking different opportunities and new people swinging in. You have business growth, which in this kind of basic wireframe, which we'll get into in another episode, is having to splice responsibilities inside of these divisions and add more people into it as you can continue to grow. So that system of procedure aids in the growth of a business. And the last thing that we don't talk enough about is it aids in whatever your end game looks like. What is the end game? Are you selling this thing? Are you going to pass it on to your family or whatever it is? Like, what is the end value of this business? Because there is value in it. And I think oftentimes we forget what that's going to look like in the end. So big weight on system of procedure in COO. I think Ev, you could talk to the next lane in terms of
one other
CMO.
thing I want to say about the COO, though, that comes in clutch for a lot of designer business owners is when there is a critical conversation. Shay, you could speak to this. You hate having to bring that to the assistant. This is where this went wrong. This is what I need you doing differently. Some designers feel very comfortable in that seat. Great. But having another leader with you who can take that feedback from you, break it down into something actionable, not make you feel like you have to bring that critical conversation directly to your team, I think is another big value plug of Samantha whatever, fractional COO, role.
Yeah. Critical conversations are the absolute worst. I mean, it's the same thing why we hate invoicing clients. Yep. We build a relationship. We like these people. We don't want to hurt feelings. Totally. And you let things slide, and that was something really big for us last year. And when we had, contract renewal conversations and we were kind of doing it a different way, and a few individuals renewed and requested a personnel swap. And it really had nothing negative to do, but they had all this feedback that they should have shared to us so that we could have continued to develop that assistant. And in whatever ways that it wasn't working for them.
Right.
And it wasn't a huge thing, which is why they didn't come to us. But in the spirit of renewal and realignment into the next year, these things emerged. And that's where we really started to point the finger at how we were running these assistant services.
Right. And getting your COO involved, even if you don't have executive level support in terms of strategy, you need that COO between you and your team, making it all run smoothly. When someone says, well, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, it's like, no, these are the conversations that have to be had, but that doesn't mean that you have to have them.
Right. So, and that's the changes we made where, regardless if someone is entering an executive partnership with us, which is these higher level services that we're talking about, we're still baking in COO to those assistant contracts. Now there are boundaries. We're not going to exceed 15 minutes of time a week to have those one-to-one conversations and track your goals. But it's so critically important that Samantha is layered in there, checking in with the designers, allowing that kind of safe space and open exchange of communication. And also the same thing happening with the assistant, because if the assistant is not feeling good or feeling like things are going in an efficient direction, then that's another red flag for Samantha to jump in and have a conversation. And that's where I think that we're having a big shift internally right now with really strengthening this team unit. And even if you're not at that point to have those executive level services, you still get that tiny fraction, even with assistants.
Totally.
Yeah.
To round out the executive services that we have now, more to come, but the fractional chief marketing officer, that's myself. I would say the biggest thing, for designer business owners, a lot of times the question there is just like, what is worthy of my time? It's so easy to get consumed in the idea that you have to be on every single platform or like doing the most. And I hope that we can certainly grow and evolve there. But like, where are you now? What are your strengths? Do you have a great portfolio that work for Instagram, or is your client somewhere else? Like, where can we be leveraging what you have? And then working towards, first, let's make you look great online when someone's looking for you. Then we worry about how people are finding you, and really creating things in phases and stages that feel actionable, I think, is one of the biggest things that I'm talking to interior designers about all the time, as well as, of course, automation, the website, the branding, things of that nature. But in terms of the difference between high level marketing strategy versus our marketing assistants and that execution, it's really about having someone to help you strategize, put the priorities in place, track the data, all the things that interior designers mostly don't have the time for and don't have the interest in or the knowledge of.
Yeah, totally. And I know we're not diving into kind of
skeleton,
all the foundation and things that we, advocate you doing. But all of this C-suite players that we're talking about in terms of fractional CEO, COO, CMO, all of them are interconnected. They all communicate to each other. And so that's what's so important when we're entering that executive partnership and there are so many goals that are getting put on the table. That's what we're also helping you do, is kind of line them up in order of priority. Because first, for example, sometimes people come in hot and heavy and they're like, website. I need my website refreshed. They're so focused on website. But at the same time, one of their goals on the list, after hearing, what the problems can be if you don't control that pricing model and developing a team, is like, I'm like, no, because what's going to happen is we're going to redefine your services and how you sell them. And then we're going to have to go backwards, because everything that Evelyn just branded and put to the website now is going to change and be informed by your redefined sales process and how you're bringing clients in and how you're talking about your services. So in actuality, we want you to start here. We know it's important. We can trail you there. Or sometimes, just like we're talking about the skeleton version of this conversation,
I know, because I just had something else I wanted to add. I'm like, wait.
Yeah. There might be this in between, we're going to get a skeleton 1-pager or 2-pager up. So we have these visuals, redefine your services with Shayna and fix that pricing model. And then I have everything clarified to kind of spring it back to Evelyn. And in the middle of that, Samantha in operations is fixing the in-between processes of that sales flow,
Getting the things you need today ready to delegate, so you can free yourself up for all these big questions and all this high level thinking. I have another example, but I feel like I don't need it. Let's keep it moving. Fractional CFO, some bookkeeping and accounting and all of that rolling out soon, more to come. But that is really our executive team that we bring to your team and plug in as much or as little as you need us right now. And then we have our team of virtual assistants who are broken into 3 distinct specialties, being design, administration, and marketing. And Shayna's going to say, well, even more than 3. We're going to get to all that, but skeleton wise, design, administration, and marketing. Let's talk design first. These are really our technical designers doing the drafting, the renderings. Shay, you're in these onboardings every day. What are all the most common task types that designers are coming to our design team needing help with?
Yeah, I call this our skills team, right? As Evelyn said, drafting, rendering, all variations of shaded elevations, etc. For our team, we are paying for SketchUp with V-Ray and CAD, one seat in chief architect. But we do have the versatility to be jumping into Foyer and Cahoom and Mydoma and what we would call these kind of outside specialty technologies. The biggest thing that we're doing in these onboardings is I feel like a lot of education and really fast tracking the foundation of that team. So we have standardized layers that we review. We have a standardized measurement guide, that we send over to change any typical type measurements. For example, usually I'm like, point out the wall thickness because sheetrock and insulation thickness is different upon state. So little guidelines there. Common mistakes people make when doing their measurements, and some templates to send over there.
The most efficient ways to submit your red lines. Like, this is what we do. We know the questions to ask. We know the things to get ahead of. We know the things to lay out with you and either say, yes, I want it done, quote unquote, your way, or no, this is my specific way. Now we're ready to really hit the ground running with you.
Yeah. The biggest thing too is, we are standardizing your title blocks. If you're using title pages, we're going through, how we typically notate drawings, which obviously can change, right? Some people don't want to show their clients' measurements on space plans. Some people do. So we're really outlining your print size, all of those preferences. And then we're kind of going down the line of how you typically are presenting and what types of deliverables you are typically using for your client. I'll tell you, most people, we're kind of getting to the end of the process. And when we get to the schedule, the FF&E schedule, most people are like, oh, this is an area I'd like to enhance. So we have variations and versions of schedules to showcase. And we talk about those versions and how each version has a varying length of time. So we're always sprinkling in there this time because the biggest reason we developed this technology was for the control of understanding the time, the money, the billables. So we also have a deliverable of estimating hours roughly per task type to kind of help you ensure, if you haven't worked with me and I don't know how you're pricing, to ensure that we're pricing these things correctly. And we're talking about your type of internal process, which again goes down to your leadership style. Some people are great at that red line, and we can coach you on how to red line, which is the best way that we would love to communicate. But other people need that live call to kind of have more of a creative process, have us take a little bit more of the lead. And in that process, that's more collaborative. It's going to take more time. So these are the conversations kind of throughout the onboarding. Once we go through that onboarding, we're executing all those foundational deliverables and then having a full team meeting in-house with our design team to explain all the preferences. The way we seat that team is very different than all the other teams. So you will naturally have at minimum 3 people joining your team from a design onboarding, because we have a rendering specialist, we have architectural specialists. We actually have someone on our team with an architectural license, active license. And then we have our furnishing specialists as well. So yeah, that's our design team.
Yeah. Exactly. Which brings us to, ties in very closely to, of course, our administrative assistant team. And I feel like this is a big one. So I'm just going to give Shayna that little wink and say skeletal description of the most common task types, the most common problems people are coming to us looking for an administrative assistant to help solve in their business.
Right. The way I'm going to say this as a skeleton is this team will develop and start from 1 person and morph into 4. So I am not going to talk about how that's staffed. I'm just going to talk about all the things that this team can do. So from the start of the process, typically we're always advocating that your admin have an email with your domain. We are not here in the universe to have your clients knowing about us. We are here to cheer you on and be a part of your team and make it feel like we are your staff and your employees to your clients. So we have client communication they can support, vendor communication, organizing your email and helping draft responses, helping bring clients through that process of discovery call through contract close. If you're not automated yet, there's a lot of questionnaires and informational documents and invoices and contracts that have to get sent out through this time, helping that process, helping kick off the project. If you are to the point where you have a task manager or project manager software, getting that jump started. Then as that project starts and continues to evolve, supporting the development of your presentations, supplementing any sourcing, which is usually the very last thing I say for you to delegate. That's a whole other conversation we can get into, but supporting some selections and the presentation boards. Also heavy in helping the pricing, the quote collection, getting the estimates put together, invoicing, applying payments, placing orders, issuing purchase orders, orchestrating the tracking spreadsheets for however you're doing that, communicating with the receiving warehouse, facilitating any damaging claims with any of your vendors, communicating with clients for if you're doing retainer management or any weekly or bi-weekly email sends, also facilitation of scheduling of the installations, contacting trades to also schedule those installations, tracking items that have delivered. So throughout that installation process, I would say kind of that virtual project management sector of things. And then all the way through, the closeout of the project, rechecking invoices, whatever that closeout looks like for you. And also in heavy communication with the design team. So as we're building these teams and as that system of procedure evolves, that's the big important thing you're looking to do is not have all the communication ping pong back to you as the owner. Because if you're already underwater, your inbox is already flooded. Now, as you're adding people, your inbox is even more flooded, does not work. We're trying to create processes where people are communicating, answering questions amongst themselves and bringing it back to you in a cohesive fashion. So they're also kind of the glue amongst the team. They'll communicate with the marketing assistants and the design assistants and communicate upwards to executive assistants. For example, if I'm supporting your closing calls, that admin is looking at my schedule, the designer schedule, and kind of bringing it all together.
And that's just the skeleton, folks. So stay tuned. We have so much more to dive into there. But let's keep going into our team of marketing assistants. And there are multiple, I kind of think of marketing in three main buckets. There's your evergreen stuff that you're working on that just continues to serve you over time. If you create a lead magnet, that's not something you're doing every single week, but it's still marketing efforts that are, that you're taking. Then you have your ongoing marketing tasks, things like social media that you're consistently putting energy to. And then of course, any paid advertising, paid for pay-per-click, things like that. So our marketing assistants can help in all of these buckets in varying ways. So certainly ongoing website updates when you have new project photography, when you have a new service offering you need a landing page for, just continuing to keep that website as a living, breathing organism for you. I would say the most common task types our marketing assistants are helping with are certainly social media creation, content creation, scheduling, and also community management, actually keeping those platforms up to date, engaging with other, accounts that make sense for you in your market, continuing to check out your competitors and doing the research and coming to you with ideas. So social media is a big one. Most designers just don't want to look at it anymore, don't want to have to worry about it anymore. And then I actually think of LinkedIn as different from social media because we're using it differently in terms of your marketing strategy overall. LinkedIn is more of a networking and direct outreach platform. And so we're taking care of that for interior designers, especially for building great referral partnerships in your market. So using that a little bit differently. Email marketing, I'd say that's a good, better, best, creating a blast email newsletter that goes out to your whole list is fantastic. Then we continue to go better and best by actually creating segments of your audience, building those segments, creating emails that are specific to the segments that you're sending for. Personalization is going to be the biggest factor of success when it comes to email. So actually helping create a strategy for that. All things SEO. Creating updates on the websites, on your primary web pages for SEO, as well as blogging for SEO, using Pinterest as an SEO tool, and then Google My Business. Most designers are like, oh yeah, I'm verified, and thinking that's kind of where that stops. But there's actually consistent things we can do to leverage your Google business profile for hyper-local SEO, for near me searches, for Google Maps searches, even for image searches, which surprises a lot of people, I think. And so these are the most common things that our marketing assistants are helping with. But then, those random things come through. I have an event in a couple months and I really want to have a great presentation with a video. And yes, we have a ton of varied skill sets on our marketing team that we can help with those things as they come up. I want to create a direct mail postcard and I need a great design. So the opportunities are endless, but I'd say those are the most common task types that we're working with.
Yeah, cool. I think the biggest thing too, to bring back fractional is really flexible, right? Mm-hmm. Fractional is synonymous with flexible. And a really big question that a lot of clients ask kind of coming in when they're trying to kind of align the financial picture, also what team players they need. A lot of times people feel like they need kind of a sprinkle of all. And they're like, well, do I have to commit individually to these lanes? And the answer is no. So as long as you've onboarded and we understand your preferences, who you are, all the things around each of these divisions, you can customize your contract to say, I'm really only ready to commit to 2 hours a week of support. And the reality is you can use those 2 hours for whoever you need on your team. And while we do establish contracts that are executive hours for that C-suite team and assistant hours, we're even so much so flexible that if you have collected a bunch of assistant hours, the business had to slow down you're on a contract. So that means every Monday, the system is going to dump in a bucket of hours for you. We are not a use it or lose it. I know a couple virtual assistant companies out there I've heard of, they run things differently and they are use it or lose it. They're not letting you bank it. They're not letting you carry it. There's a very low level of flexibility, especially as you're scaling or needing more support. These have been issues that I've heard. That's just not who we are. You pay for it. You don't use it. It banks inside of your account. And if you are collecting assistant hours, you are always able to convert those into executive hours of support to work on the foundation of your business. And those slowdowns are when you want to do it. When you have the capacity to really focus on it, turn that negative into a positive and start working on all the things that your business needs to feed itself, to nourish it, to continue to grow.
Yep. I had one this morning. She's working with a marketing assistant. Her social media has been going really well. It's going smoothly, minimal revisions. The brand is locked. She's loving it. So she's built up a little bit of time. Then she had a personal hardship. She has to relocate the business. It's all happening very fast. And she had that time to jump on with me and go, okay, what are the things I should be thinking about? Let's look through the website. Let's talk about all the changes that need to be made so that this is seamless in terms of what your clients and potential clients are seeing online. And she didn't have to think like, oh, what hours do I... No, we take care of that for you. But all of that was just kind of ready for her, banked up. And now we can use that time strategically for what's coming up now, today.
Yeah. And the technology that we've built really is the vessel that allows us to do this with ease.
Yeah, I was just about to say on the org chart, the technology is the one that's like invisible, but is making it all happen. Yeah. And we'll talk about that and all the features and why Shayna's brain created the features that we did.
It's so funny because when 40Biz started, like the feature was the technology. It is really what we were driving into the conversation and honestly kind of marketing in the wrong way to get free members in and this funnel that educates them.
I don't even show the technology in the demo now.
Right,
I mention
we
it
don't.
and say you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that everything's in this technology and tracked down to the, but I don't even show it because another designers would like lean back. I'd see their like, chin getting stuck against their chest because they're like another technology. No, it's not something you have to manage, but you have the peace of mind of knowing that every single member of your 4D Biz team is tracked, is in control. And that is, I think, a whole nother part of the fractional model that now we kind of talk about as secondary.
I mean, I love it because even for clients that don't really use it, again, we don't require to. Our team is required to use it.
Yeah,
it's what's connected to your contract. What gives even us the control that if you have concerns, we can easily pull it up and kind of talk you through. But again, I feel like
you're right. 0.73 hours does seem a little bit long for that. Let me look into that for you. If you had an employee in your office and they're like, oh yeah, I worked on that this morning. Like, no.
Yeah, it's very efficient. And there's a couple things that this technology has done for us and for clients who even thought that it was time to go higher on a salary, even helped them find the hire, honestly. Right. Elisa, I think you even helped her find her hire.
Oh yeah. We've had some of those as
hire
task
someone.
types.
I think she was like 80,000 she was going to pay, and then returned back a couple months later and was like, you guys are super fast. You don't realize that when you're co-sharing, again, this fractional flexible support, you're also co-sharing your staff. So that means that if Logan's there working her 8-hour day, she's only clocking in to support you the exact down to the minute that you need. And it's not like she's sitting there waiting on you. Even if she reached out and was like, hey, I need this to continue on, she's going to send out that correspondence, stop her clock, and go jump to the next thing on her task list.
No coffee breaks, no water cooler chats. Okay, but this skeleton has started to really build out. So what we want to talk about now, you understand, hopefully, if we've done it right, the fractional model, everything that it offers, why these people are, essential for your operations. I feel like the next natural question, Shay, is like, okay, I get it, but how do I get started? Who do I need first? What are the most common ways designers come to us and get the support that they need?
Okay. To simplify this, I think that we can put people into 3 buckets.
Okay.
The nice bucket is, we'll go for the easiest one.
No, none of your buckets are wrong. They're all nice in their own way.
Well, I'll tell you the easiest one and the calmest one on both sides. For us and for you, if you're listening. If you are not quite ready for assistance, but you know that you are not going to fail. Like, that's it. If you're an owner, you have a winning mentality, you are not going to fail. At some point, you are going to need assistance. That's just what it is. If you're there, you've proven to yourself, whether you're intentional or accidental in business, and you have been able to sustain your own self, you're there. That's just what it is. And we would say that the easiest bucket would be to come in and just work with the executive team and focus on the foundational track that we're not going to get into, but the foundational track that you need to take to ensure profit is protected and you are prepared to integrate a team. And that is way more of a calm process when you are just not quite ready to need support.
These are the designers who come to us and are like, okay, I'm setting myself up now because I don't want to, redo things in the future. Great. That is a luxury. If you're there, congratulations. Like, be looking ahead. You're thinking ahead. You're not underwater, but you know that the growth that you envision yourself will put you underwater if you don't do this now.
Yeah. And those are some of the most successful transformations I've seen, to be honest. And we can still continue the same track for getting you prepped to delegate, even so much to that pricing model. We can develop the pricing model, but you could still be selling flat fee because you're just not quite there just yet with that learning curve to swing into a model where it really is hourly. right? And we're not even going to get into that, but putting boundaries around it so that it feels like that flat fee feel to the client, but it's that hourly approach. We can take steps to get you there. So when you get there, it's a way shorter learning curve because your brain already has had a conversation. We've already kind of prepared that brain for this is where you are now. This is where it's going to go. And this is the trigger point you're going to feel. When you start feeling this trigger point, then we're going to start to make change, return back, and you'll already know the next things we need to integrate to push you forward.
Totally.
So,
and Shay, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I know we've had designers who go through the pricing model with you and express discomfort in the process. It's a, challenge, the process they're pushing back. They, certainly I'm not saying it's easy for everyone, but correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think a single designer has come out the other side and said, no, this doesn't work for me. It's not success. Like once you flip your brain, once you see it, once you implement it and you close that first one, it's like, got it. Now I'm ready to not be alone anymore and to not have to worry about the profitability within that.
yeah. And we got to squash a lot of fears at that growth marker because typically I want to say almost 9 times out of 10 when I'm closing with people that I'm reinventing their pricing model, they're collecting double, triple, more in terms of fiscal dollars that they would have ever collected. Pedro's first closing call with him, we closed $30,000. He was like, what? Couldn't believe,
Right.
and it's just all in the sale. It's in the confidence. It's making that client feel confident through the sales process, making it make sense. And
Crystal
your
clear.
process is your process, and that's what it is. And they get on board and you lead, right? So, that
but let's bring it
foundational.
back. Oh, sorry. Finish your thought, of course.
No, I was going to bring it back to, that really is the
Right.
foundational, that,
Yeah.
and we can talk about investment real quick. There's 2 ways. We really only require people to make very little minimal commitments to us,
Absolutely.
but those
That's
commitments,
fractional. That's flexible. That's what it is.
yeah. And, obviously this podcast is going to live on forever. So this pricing is definitely, going to likely change in the future. But really we have 2 executive kind of partnership tracks to be working and building towards this foundation. One, $350 a month. And the better one is $700 a month. But this is
I
where
hesitate to say better or worse because not this designer that we're talking about who's coming to us ready to set this whole foundation. It's better in that way. That's the package that makes sense for you. But in any of our levels of investment, any of our services, neither one is meant to be better nor worse. It's just where are you in your business journey? What makes sense for you and what do you need?
Yeah. I think I say better because, there's more time consistently.
You're going to feel the progress.
And for who I am, when I'm working with a client, I like that consistent progress and consistent build. Also, I feel like the process and that foundational pricing model, like to stay on track with someone on that weekly basis.
You don't want lingers necessarily. Like
Right.
you need to keep that thought process moving. That homework needs to keep getting accomplished so you can come back and really tackle it. Okay. So designer number 1 is ready to set the foundation in advance. Great to be able to do that. Not a luxury everyone has. So who's designer number 2 that tends to come to us and how do we work with them?
So
that was a deep sigh, people.
I mean, because designer number 2 and 3 are already busy.
Yep.
Already
Great problem
busy.
to have.
Great problem to have. But we've got a prep mentality here that if you're underwater and you're coming in for help, I've got to free you up or you've got to increase your working hours in some way to feed us so we can feed your team everything that they need for everyone to succeed.
Yeah.
So
tough love moment. We can't remove you yet. You can't, it's not a magic wand. You can't step back just yet. Designer number 2 and 3, I'm talking to you.
Yeah. And the bigger you are, the harder it gets. And this is just, again, agreed. Very tough love conversation. While we may have the answers, it doesn't eliminate the time and the work you have to put in. And
we can tell you what you're going to need to do, which is half the battle is knowing that. So we are getting a shortcut.
Yeah.
but you still have to be part of the journey.
You can't get the six pack without showing up to the gym yourself. I mean, you can get the trainer, they can guide you to do it, and, you know, they can support you, but without you, it's not getting there. It's just not. Or we can get it there, but you're not going to comprehend it. So it's still not going to succeed. Even if your assistant team is comprehending, there's a misalignment going on. So really, designer 2 and 3 are very similar creatures. It's just a matter of probably designer 3 is way more busy than designer 2. So designer 2, to now answer your question, would be, I am already needing support. I can feel that in my day, but now that I understand that my pricing model is the nucleus of this succeeding, if I'm selling a flat fee or a percentage or square foot based model, I need to work with Shayna to fix my pricing model before I integrate an assistant. So you know, and I know that every hour you are delegating, you are making X dollars an hour off of it. And in this person, I am like driving it in that you want to delegate with control and profitability in mind. So we'll start with that executive program first. We'll focus on the goals of the pricing model, the sales process, the contract, the close. I prefer to jump on and close with you because if we're moving quickly, this is something foreign. We present as a team. I present as your operations officer. I'm not going to give you something and not walk the walk and talk the talk with you. That's not what we're about. We're about, the executive team is about jumping into the weeds, representing on your team to your clients as you need it. So we'll focus on that. And then we boomerang you into our assistant onboarding process, which we void our onboarding fees for assistants when you start in the executive foundation track. It doesn't mean we void the process. It just means
Thank
we
you for
void,
saying that. I like cringe.
just
like wait.
means we void the way in which we collect the money because you're already in an executive foundation partnership. So we will use executive hours that are always in our assistant onboarding. You will always start with the executives first before you even meet an assistant. So same process, but we can use the hours that you have in that given month towards your onboarding initiative. So you'll only have to supplement a fraction of that too. So designer 2, I am really needing to delegate. I am already feeling that, but I feel like I can hold it down by myself for enough time, which might look like 2 months of time, depending on if you want to, you know, supplement extra hours. Maybe we can change that whole pricing model in a month. I mean, 1 hour, I did a 4-hour session with someone, really crazy, but as quickly as we need to move and then boomerang you into that assistance so we know profit is protected. I know Evelyn wants me to wrap it up, but I am going to say one more thing about this. The challenge for designer 2 in this portion is once we fix you, you're in this hybrid lingo. You're in in flat fees. You're also going to be seeing a new way of selling that likely is going to make you more money. So you're excited about that. And that workshop that we're doing with designer 2 is to now look at those flat fees or whatever you sold, figure out what the timeline is and retrofit them into an hourly retainer something so that we can still control money. You'll know the boundaries of, look, we don't want to delegate any more than 20 hours to this project. Over 20 hours, you're on your own again, or else you're taking away from profits that you wanted to keep from this project. So there's also way more strategy in controlling profits, but profit protection first, then assistance.
I was giving you the wrap up sign, but I'm so glad you mentioned that actually, because that is a very common thing we hear. It is really, I'm not going to say easy. Nothing in this is easy, but it is easier to go through these workshops and these processes, and every new lead and every new project you close from here feels great. You still have ongoing to take care of. And it's the hardest to, even with a new administrative assistant, they don't know that client. They haven't been tracking those orders, like going backwards to those existing projects. Just be ready for there to be a little bit of that discomfort there. There's absolutely nothing we can do about that except our absolute best to get you into this process moving forward.
Yeah. And we're not going to dive into this. This will be another episode, but routine is everything through getting you through these really mucky growth markers where you have to show up more and get yourself through it so the other side is feeling better. So, and I really am about to say that to designer number 3. Designer number 3.
I love the segue. Keep it going.
Designer number 3 who is massively underwater or had employees and those employees aren't sticking. They're struggling with hiring. They're struggling with training. They're struggling with team overturn. They've likely, a lot of them have been in business for a long time. So we've got long-standing habits as well. And we've got a designer with barely any time to give. That also needs so much foundational support to this business and has the highest level of project volume going on. Ultimately, this is someone who needs the full breadth of a team. They need many people of assistance getting onboarded around the same time to free the designer up to buy themselves back time. You can buy time back in your day. You absolutely can. You want to do it with control and you want to know you're making money off of it. But if you are working over a 40-hour work week, there is no need. There isn't. We've got to fix your foundation. We've likely have to fix your pricing model, but you put in a team around you to kind of lock in those boundaries. This is the toughest one. It's the toughest one for me personally. I feel like working with clients on that level with such little time to give. And
but it can also be the most rewarding. This is like,
it is
transformation central.
Ooh, these are usually the clients that get the most of me.
Right.
Because they are a challenge.
Yeah.
And they also need a lot of emotional support to kind of carry them through to kind of getting over to the other side. And yeah, in that very high level, if you're jumping to assistance, we're going to foundation next. And you are one of those people who just have a tremendous amount of project volume and you're just trying to get there. That really is, where I spend my time the most. Yeah. Helping those clients kind of get through this patch. And, to the other side, which can take, depending on where you are, it can take a year or two to get there. One day I want to look into Hannah's data and see like her little 7-hour contract or however it started and what that timeline was as we worked together and evolved to get her to 50 plus recurring hours of support on a weekly basis.
Amongst all teams
last year
specialties.
She emailed me. We closed $500,000 of just design service fees.
Yep.
The two of us together. So, it's a lot and it's not an easy path, but we do it together. It's definitely easier when you have a team to support you that totally gets it.
Yeah. And little curveball, surprise for me. I'm actually going to throw in designer number 4 that we didn't talk about because we have also seen the need for the designer who just wants to come and get one specific task type. It's something they themselves can't offer. They don't have rendering skills. Let's just say it's that, or it's something that just always is the overflow for their in-house team. Whatever that looks like, there's one task type they just need help with. That's designer number 4, and we can help you in that way too. We're going to make it a much simpler onboarding because we're not going through your entire system of procedures. If you just can think of one thing in your business that you just wish you had someone to take over for you, we can scale back and do that as well. I think when we earn your trust, we're going to end up growing and evolving and going farther than that anyway. But designer number 4, we're here for you as well.
Yeah. I'm going to make a bold statement and say, I confidently know we are the best virtual assistant team out there to support interior designers in every way, minus physical on-site support, which you will need.
I couldn't agree more. Between 100%. The technology, between our knowledge of all these different avenues of support and putting the puzzle pieces in place to have the specialists in every category, I feel like we can stand behind that statement 100%.
Fractional, flexible, whether you make a commitment with us, we drop the price. You need as needed support and can't make a commitment, that's okay. You'll just pay the as needed price. Yep. Very, very flexible.
You've had experience with the crooks in the business that don't take accountability. That ain't us. Go back to our last episode. We talked about that. Okay, I think we've done, hopefully, you tell us, a really good job of saying, okay, this is what we offer. This is what we believe you need. This is how we offer it. This is how you get started. And let's just kind of wrap it up with a reminder that, because we've said it is a lot. Designers are big picture thinkers. Your brain is probably looking like a pinball machine going, oh my gosh, and this and this and that. because I do want to just give that last reminder that all of this, what it will feel like once we've gotten through that onboarding process, this journey that we're talking about, giving you the people that you need on your team, it is going to feel like gaining control, reducing overwhelm, focusing on your special skills and where you actually want to be inside of your business. And that feels really good. Like, talk to me about a couple client success stories or what you've heard from that. Like, let's leave with that positive note of where this all goes.
Yeah, I mean, positive note, to get to the positive, we have to address some of the negatives of building a team kind of around it, like it's a hard wrap up, because what you're going to get is this worry-free partnership where you don't have to panic if your team overturns. You don't have to panic if you're growing and you need to add people to your team. You don't need to panic if you're going to use a new software to train your team member on or want to enhance how you're using that technology. You don't have to worry about any of that time. We have fully staffed individuals on this team who our hiring and vetting process never stops. And again, you will never find, and I'm going to put it out there because I haven't found it yet, for all the crooks we've hired out there or all the letdowns we've had out there, that we will hold ourselves accountable. And if we did something we weren't supposed to do, or if you feel like something took a little bit too long, we are diving into that time log. We are having conversations immediately with you and the team. If there's a deadline, that is the deadline of today. Do not fear. It will get done. There is just 0% fears there. And any time that was wasted on your account will be credited back. That's just how it goes. That is the insurance policy. That is the partnership that I stand by to support each other in this lane of business development and growth.
Absolutely. And what that looks like, I mean, we have a designer who truly was going to close the business, done, burned out, like simply couldn't do it anymore. And now is one of our not only biggest clients in terms of the commitment that we make to them, but in terms of the success that she's seeing with offering different tiers of service and using our team in creative ways more profitably. Like, I just think that if you feel any level of burned out, support will feel so good.
Yeah, agreed.
So call us. I'm just kidding. But truly, that's what the fractional model is all about. We would love to work with you. And any questions that you have, both Shayna and myself are resources to you. So reach out anytime.
Yes, we would love to hear from you. We love hearing from all the success stories that come in the door, all the challenges. There's no problem out there that I genuinely feel like we cannot solve. Together as a collective, especially with the size of our team now, we are prepared to make that statement. As we wrap up today's episode, we hope you're feeling empowered to take the next step into building a business that truly supports your vision and your life. The fractional model is not just a strategy. It's a way to create flexibility, protect your profits, and surround yourself with the right team exactly when you need it.
Remember, no matter where you are today, whether you're just starting out or you're feeling overwhelmed or you're really ready to scale, there's a path forward that fits you. You don't have to do it alone. We're here to help you navigate the challenges, celebrate the wins, and keep your business moving in the right direction.
If you're ready to explore how the fractional model can work for you, or if you just want to talk through your next move, visit fordesignerbusiness.com to schedule a free consultation, or check out the show notes for a direct link.
Keep leaning into your strengths, stay open to new solutions, and give yourself credit for every step you take. Growth is a journey, and you're making progress every day.
Thanks for joining us on For Designer Business. And don't forget, if you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. It helps us reach more designers just like you. We're cheering you on as you build a business and a life that you love. Until next time, keep designing and keep dreaming.